Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the heart of romantic relationships.
Hmm.
We're using material you provided, specifically excerpts from The Mindful Couple, How Acceptance and Mindfulness Can Lead You to the Love You Want. That's by Robyn Walser and Darrah Westrup.
Yeah, it's a great resource. And our mission today, for you, the learner, is really to pull out the key insights from this book.
Right.
We're going to focus on how acceptance and commitment therapy principles, that's ACT, can help you build, well, a more vital and connected partnership.
Actionable steps, surprising ideas, things you can use right away.
Exactly. Maybe you found yourself wondering, why you still hit rough patches or feel dissatisfied sometimes, even when you're trying hard.
Oh, definitely.
Well, the mindful couple offers this kind of radical shift in perspective. It could really help move past some of those common frustrations.
It does. And these authors, they're coming from a solid psychological background, ACT specifically. And, the perspective is refreshing.
It really is.
And something that jumped out at me immediately was this idea. They suggest that maybe chasing happiness in a relationship isn't the main goal. Or maybe it even gets in the way.
Right. That's a big one.
Yeah.
They argue that vitality, that sense of aliveness, and experiencing the full range of human emotions together, that's actually a stronger sign of a healthy relationship.
Okay, let's unpack that. Vitality over just happiness.
Yeah, it ties into what they call the happiness trap, this constant search for feeling good. It can paradoxically stop us from having really fulfilling connections.
Ah.
Well, think about it, the learner. If you're always chasing that fleeting feeling of happiness, you might miss the deeper strength that comes from navigating the tough stuff together.
Like trying to grab smoke, as you said before we start.
Exactly. The more you grasp, the less you have. And if we're constantly trying to dodge any negative feeling, well, we might also be dodging authentic connection.
Makes sense. And they use this acronym, FEAR, to explain how our minds kind of trip us up.
Mm-hmm.
Very useful. So F is for fusion. That's when we just completely buy into our thoughts, like they're absolute facts.
Yeah, stuck to them like Velcro, as they put it. Like thinking nobody loves me feels like the undeniable truth.
Right. Instead of just, a thought passing through.
And that fusion is so limiting, isn't it? If
Yeah.
you're fused with that thought, it just dictates everything, how you act, how you see your partner.
Yeah, the book says we sort of melt together with our minds.
Instead of seeing that we have minds, that thoughts are just mental events.
Okay, so F is fusion, then E is evaluation.
Ah, yes, the inner judge, constantly labeling everything good, bad, right, wrong, success, failure.
Judging ourselves, our partner, the relationship itself. I know I fall into that, judging little habits or whatever. It's exhausting.
It is. And the book points out, while judging is useful sometimes, for making decisions, this constant internal critic creates this climate of, well, criticism instead of acceptance. It really damages things.
Definitely. Okay, then A is avoidance. Pretty straightforward, right? Trying to get rid of unpleasant feelings.
Yeah, pushing away anxiety, sadness, anger,
Yeah.
anything uncomfortable.
But the book argues that this experiential avoidance, trying to control or eliminate feelings, it actually backfires.
It really does. You might avoid a tough conversation or withdraw emotionally just to dodge that discomfort, but you end up hurting intimacy.
Hmm. And the last one, R, is reason giving.
Our minds are great storytellers. I can't be open because I'm anxious. I yelled because they made me mad.
Justifying our actions.
Exactly. And while it's natural to explain ourselves, the book says, hey, recognize these reasons are just more thinking.
So you can have the thought, I'm too anxious, but still choose to act openly.
That's the key insight. You're in charge, not the story your mind spins.
Okay, so those are the traps. Fusion, evaluation, avoidance, reason giving, FEAR. But ACT offers a way through.
Yes, and this is the core of it. Acceptance and commitment. Accepting the difficult stuff, thoughts, feelings, sensations, without fighting them.
Acceptance isn't liking it, right? It's
Yeah.
making space for it.
Precisely. Holding it gently. And the other piece is committed action, taking steps based on your personal values, what truly matters to you in the relationship.
So holding the discomfort and moving towards your values.
That's the essence of psychological flexibility, which ACT aims to build.
Mm.
Acceptance is huge for that.
And when you combine acceptance and valued action, that's where they say vitality comes in. What does vitality look like in a relationship, according to them?
It's that sense of aliveness, energy, engagement. It comes from being willing to feel everything, the good and the bad, while actively doing what matters in the partnership. It's about engaging fully, not just trying to feel happy.
I like the cooking analogy they use. Relationship building is like cooking, and mindfulness and vitality are key ingredients, not some magic formula.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process, requires attention. Which leads us perfectly into part 2. Values, using values as our compass.
Right. The values in the vital relationship section. They cover several, but let's touch on a few key ones, starting with authenticity.
Okay, and they stress authenticity isn't like a finished state you achieve, it's a process, right? Constantly choosing to be genuine.
Even when it feels risky or vulnerable, we all feel that pressure sometimes to put on a front.
Totally. And the risk of inauthenticity. They tell that story about the friend doing online dating.
Oh yeah, presenting oneself online, then feeling she had to be someone else in person.
Exactly. Fear of rejection. But those connections didn't last because they weren't built on who she really was. It's unsustainable.
That hits home. It's tough, especially early on. But they say, better to be a fool for a day than miserable for a lifetime. Just be yourself.
And the practice they suggest is about noticing where fear might be holding you back from being authentic. Ask yourself, what if fear wasn't driving? What small step could you take?
Okay, authenticity. Next up, integrity.
And their definition is interesting, not just honesty, but being able to respond in line with your values, taking responsibility.
Making your actions match your principles, even with small things, like those white lies.
Hmm. They use that example of Kevin and Sarah and the pants. Does this make me look bad? The struggle between the easy lie and the potentially hurtful truth.
And the key wasn't what he should say, but that they needed to talk openly about how they wanted to handle honesty in those moments.
Right. And sometimes integrity means saying no, even when yes feels easier. They quote Gandhi.
A no uttered from the deepest conviction is better than a yes merely uttered to please.
Or what is worse, to avoid trouble. Powerful stuff.
Mm.
It's about being true to yourself, even within the relationship.
Okay, so authenticity, integrity,
What about faithfulness?
essential for deepening the bond, they argue, especially through hard times. Sticking with it, being steadfast to yourself and your partner.
The practice involves thinking about what faithfulness means to you, what qualities it has, maybe visualizing yourself as a solid oak tree.
Yeah, rooted, not easily swayed, and committing to faithful words and actions.
Now, passion. This one they challenge a bit.
They do. They question the idea that passion has to be this constant high-intensity feeling, because relationships built only on intense feelings can be unstable.
Exactly. Feelings change, right? Circumstances shift. Relying only on feelings can lead to that tit-for-tat dynamic, or idealizing your partner so much that reality inevitably disappoints.
Makes sense. Okay, next value. Kindness.
Universally valued, as they point out. Buddhism, Talmud, Christianity, Confucianism, they all highlight it.
And that survey, 16,000 people choosing kindness as the most desirable trait in a partner.
But here's the danger they flag. Intentionally withholding kindness. Or making your kindness conditional on how your partner behaves.
Like, I'll be kind if you're kind first. That puts you in a weak spot.
Totally. They tell the story of Dion and Robbie, caught in that cycle of kindness, then neglect, breaking up, getting back together.
Until Robbie broke the pattern.
Yeah. She committed to consistent acts of kindness even when she didn't feel like it. And it transformed things.
So the practice is simple. Identify small things that make your partner smile and commit to doing one daily. Cultivate the habit.
Lovely. Small actions, big impact.
And finally, in this value section, love itself.
And they really emphasize love as a verb to love. An action, not just a feeling.
Acting lovingly even when the warm fuzzies fade sometimes.
Crucial point. So many couples panic when they don't constantly feel in love. The book encourages choosing loving actions as a core value, setting an intention and doing it.
Like Sheila and Jerry. Her threats to leave when her feelings wavered. Not a stable foundation.
Right. Choosing to stay and act on the commitment is much stronger, and the practice is just asking daily, how can I be loving today toward my partner?
And then doing something concrete, even small. A gesture, a kind word.
Exactly. Okay, that wraps up the values piece, leading us into part 3. Embracing reality through acceptance.
Yes. The section, accepting yourself and your partner. And again, acceptance isn't resignation. It's not just putting up with things.
No, it's an active choice. To welcome your partner, all of them, flaws and strengths. It's key for that psychological flexibility we keep mentioning.
And welcoming the difficult feelings that come up in you because of the relationship. The upset, disappointment, anger.
Right. Acceptance doesn't make those feelings vanish. They'll still poke you, but you choose how you respond.
The story of Maria and Joe facing those unexpected financial problems.
Yeah, their lifestyle expectations had to change dramatically. Maria had to work. Acceptance meant adjusting to the reality of their shared life, not clinging to the old plan.
Expectations are a big part of this, aren't they? The link between unmet expectations and disappointment.
Huge. We often just assume our partners see things the way we do, or should.
Like Darrah and Andrew with the bills. She expected him to feel the same urgency she did.
And he just didn't. He paid them, sure, to honor her wishes, but he never felt her urgency. The book says trying to just stop having expectations or stop feeling disappointed. It's futile.
So what do you do?
Self-compassion. Acknowledge the feelings arise. Don't judge yourself for having them.
Okay. Another area is dependence and independence.
Right. Challenging that belief that your partner should somehow fix you or make you feel okay all the time.
The story of Jao feeling ignored by her boyfriend Jeff at that party, she expected him to manage her feelings.
Exactly. But the book says, while a partner might choose to meet your needs, it's not their obligation. Emotional maturity means taking responsibility for your own emotional state.
The practice there involves noticing that interdependence, recognizing your partner isn't responsible for your feelings, and welcoming your different emotional worlds.
Yeah. Okay, on a lighter note. Quirks.
Yes. Accepting those little persistent differences. Like Andrew and Darrah and the toilet paper roll. Over or under?
A classic debate. I love that Darrah eventually just decided it was easier to put it over the top, even if it made no sense to her. A small act of acceptance.
And Andrew found benefits to the free-rolling paper. Sometimes accepting a quirk is just simple love.
Totally. Okay, then a tougher one. Accepting aging and physical changes.
Especially hard in our culture, with its crazy beauty standards. It's universal aging, yet we often reject it.
Barbara's story is powerful, shifting from criticizing her body to appreciating what it does. Gratitude.
And they remind us beauty standards are cultural, like the Padang tribe valuing long necks. It's relative.
They even suggest reframing things, wrinkles as signs of intelligence, maybe. Rick realizing his worth wasn't tied to his looks.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The practice they suggest is the discovery massage. Mindfully, lovingly connecting with your partner's body, appreciating its uniqueness, its history.
That sounds lovely. And the last bit on acceptance concerns family. Accepting your partner's choices about their family interactions.
Like Jennifer and Chris, with her stepfather. They had different needs and approaches.
The key was expressing her own truth without demanding he'd change his stance.
Right. Acceptance allows for those differences. Okay, that moves us into part 4. Finding freedom through diffusion.
Moving into openness. This is about getting unstuck from our thoughts, right?
Exactly. How being trapped in our heads stops us from seeing possibilities, experiencing joy, adventure. Like Kristen and David's stagnant relationship.
Where she was shocked, he became adventurous after they broke up.
Yeah, because during the relationship, they were fused with negative evaluations. He thought she was a nag, she thought he was lazy, blind to other ways of being.
So diffusion helps us see thoughts as thoughts, not reality, create some distance.
That's the goal, taking a step back, recognizing the chatter for what it is. This builds more of that psychological flexibility.
The respirator story is hilarious for illustrating this step back. John and Jane arguing muffled through masks.
So caught up in the content, they missed the absurdity until they got some distance.
It shows how detaching lets you see the situation, maybe with more compassion. Like, okay, we're both just trying here.
Yeah, and the practice is playful, the ig pay atenlei eitfe thing, arguing in pig Latin.
Sounds ridiculous, but I guess the point is to break the attachment to the meaning of the words.
Exactly. Creates distance. Okay, another tricky concept. Fairness.
Oh, boy. The book challenges this idea that relationships should be perfectly fair or symmetrical.
Yeah, they argue that often it's us unfairing the world by demanding perfect balance. Keeping score, like with chores.
The laundry example. Who did it last? It pulls you out of the present moment, doesn't it?
Totally. The practice is wild. Intentionally be unfair to yourself for a day, secretly. Just observe your reactions. It challenges that need for perfect scorekeeping.
Interesting. Then there's humor.
Its power to navigate tricky spots. Andrew offering Darrah that raw egg after the neighbors cut down the trees.
Such a weird, funny gesture, but it met her frustration with lightness, right? Didn't dismiss it, but shifted the energy.
Exactly. Compassion through humor. Okay, then. Letting go of power and control.
The man clinging to the wooden box, afraid to let go for the rubies, fear of loss driving control.
Yeah, and that need for control, it just limits openness, limits growth. Like Augusto, the commitment phobe, trying to control his independence within the marriage.
And ended up losing the relationship because of it. His fear created the outcome he dreaded.
Precisely. True independence is the ability to choose, not control. The visualization practice helps imagining the heavy Grand Master of power and control metal and the relief of taking it off.
I like that. Finally, in this diffusion part, the power of slow.
So important in our rushed world. Slowing down avoids rash actions, creates space for gentleness.
The cost of hurry. Missed moments, assumptions, saying things you regret. Kathy and Tony, always impatient with each other's pace.
Yeah, that constant friction. So the idea is to cultivate slowness intentionally. Mindfulness helps. Practice waiting. Be patient with your partner's tempo.
Okay, that's diffusion. Now, part 5, fully engaging in the present moment.
Being present to one another starts with mindfulness.
Oh, Robyn's examples, mountain biking, her wedding day, those moments of intense awareness.
And the point is, those moments aren't just accidents. They're available all the time through present moment awareness. If we can just get our minds out of the past or future for a bit.
Which is hard. Our minds are busy. So true. The practice is about deliberately tuning in to your partner, just observing them with open attention, maybe while they sleep or read, gently bringing your mind back when it wanders.
Simple but profound. Then, finding beauty.
Beauty in the now, not just the destination. Shirley and Rick on vacation, she saw beauty everywhere along the way. He was just focused on getting there.
Appreciating the process, not just the goal. So the practice is revisiting a sweet memory, finding the beauty in it, and then actively looking for beauty in your partner today.
Lovely. Next, calm in the midst of the storm.
Acknowledging storms will happen, fights are normal, even small ones like Robyn and Mark over the French toast cinnamon.
Huh. Yeah, how easily things escalate when we're stuck on being right. Or the bigger example, the friends dealing with tragedy. Reacting versus responding.
The goal is staying centered during conflict. How?
Listen to understand, not just reply. Breathe. Use mindfulness. Choose responses intentionally, like being the calm lake deep down, even if the surface is choppy.
Good image. Then, playfulness. So key for connection and laughter. Robyn teaching Mark to playbox with silly sounds.
Bringing lightness in, and then flow.
That feeling of total immersion, right?
Right.
Self and experience merging. Like an athlete in the zone or a mother with a newborn?
Accessible to us in relationships, too.
Yes. Through willingness to feel, letting go of hindering thoughts, like Megan and Gary's spontaneous beach trip after the sunburn.
They just let go and we're totally in the moment.
Exactly. Flow happens when you choose what matters and dive in. Okay, brings us to part 6. Gaining perspective through self as context.
This is maybe the most abstract part of ACT. Shifting perspective.
It can seem that way.
They sound like this.
Your mind is like a screen showing movies, thoughts, feelings, sensations. Self as context is the theater itself, the vast, unchanging space that holds all the movies, good and bad. You are the theater, not the movie playing right now.
Okay, that helps. So it starts with empathy.
Really feeling your way into your partner's inner world. Greg and Jesse's story, his cancer, her sister's illness, how their own pain initially blinded them to the other's struggle.
Until Greg consciously imagined her experience. That changed everything. Understanding the other's world.
Transformative. Then, growth. Not just external change, but internal. Our self, that context, is limitless. It can hold all our experiences, painful and joyful.
So both partners have the capacity to hold the whole range of life within the relationship. Like John and Craig figuring out Christmas visits by accepting each other's different needs.
Yeah. Then there's sacred space. Self as context is this. Set apart space for our experience, beyond words, accessed by just observing life moment by moment.
Connecting with being itself, allowing us to interact more from the heart, less from the chattering mind.
Exactly. Our being is the context, not the content, not defined by thoughts, feelings, roles. Taking that bigger view helps let go of judgments. Remember fusion. This helps create distance.
Right. Seeing the judgments is just another movie on the screen.
Then enlightenment here means letting go of rigid ideas about our partners loving who they are and accepting change, loss, and growth in the relationship.
Dale initially resisting Sandra's shift from hiking to volunteering after her injury, but eventually accepting her new path.
That's it. Finally, relating from a place of wholeness, avoiding that melting together with our thoughts.
The stars in the universe analogy. Thoughts are stars, but the universe, our being, remains whole. We are the experiencer.
Yes. Dana's story, feeling damaged and overcompensating, shows how believing our negative thoughts hinders connection. Seeing thoughts as thoughts lets us relate from self-acceptance.
Which leads naturally to the final part, part 7, living our values through committed action.
Doing what you care about.
Yeah.
This is where it all comes together. Committed action is the heart and soul, bringing intentions to life.
As Alfred Adler said, trust only movement. Life happens at the level of events, not of words. This is the rubber meets the road part.
Totally. Aligning actions with values. The practice involves identifying core values, defining them with observable actions like what would an alien see, and doing one action daily.
Then courageous loving. Acting despite fear from the heart.
The vulnerability of starting a relationship, committing to a future you can't predict. Or Dan and Cherie, after their daughter's death, choosing actions of support and continued living day by day. That's profound courage.
The practice. Identify a fear spot, ask what your heart wants, take one small, courageous step.
Then trusting and being trustworthy. An ongoing process of action, standing by commitments, backing up words.
Even small slips matter, but you can always choose to get back on the path of trustworthiness.
Yes, and forgiveness, moving beyond right-wrong to committed action.
Forgiveness as an action, not just waiting for a feeling. Zoe's gradual acts of forgiveness toward Aaron after his affair. Step by step.
Powerful example. Then committed friends. Treating your partner with the respect and understanding you'd give a friend. Avoiding needless criticism.
The practice is catching yourself, would I say this to my best friend? And adjusting.
Good one. Finally, romantically committed.
Yeah.
Romance as both feeling and action.
Focusing on romantic actions can actually cultivate the feeling. Like Darrah's boyfriend's thoughtful gestures, they created romance through action.
Exactly. Okay, wow, we've covered a lot from the mindful couple.
We really have. So, to kind of wrap up this deep dive, the big takeaway seems to be that a thriving relationship isn't about avoiding pain or forcing happiness. It's about accepting the full spectrum, acting on your core values, and really being present.
Yeah, using those ACT skills diffusion to unhook from unhelpful thoughts, acceptance to make space for difficult feelings, and choosing actions like love and kindness intentionally.
Lots of practical stuff in there.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought for you, the learner, to chew on. What's one small, courageous action rooted in your values that you could take in your relationship today, maybe even right after listening?
Ooh, good question. What new possibilities could just one small step open up?
Worth thinking about.
Absolutely. And look, if this conversation sparked something, there's obviously so much more in the book, The Mindful Couple, or just exploring ACT and mindfulness for relationships in general. Lots of resources out there.
For sure. It's a rich area.
Well, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.